just been watching an interview about Roald Dahl's books being censored, being scrutinized by the sensitive police. Apparently many children's books are doctored, language is changed. More pleasing, more acceptable, less offensive. And in the interview they mentioned many statues, including Winston Churchill, are found to be offensive. And some statues are boxed in. Only the unenlightened person is disturbed by being offended. When I walk in the streets, there's dog shit occasionally. There's things that I can be offended by, and I suppose I am offended by it. What isn't there that can't be an offence to someone? What isn't there? The daffodils behind me has some dead ones in this morning. Well, there's nothing there that couldn't be offensive to somebody. This could be an offence. I remember someone telling me, I remember my mother saying, never have your top button done up without a tie. So obviously it was offensive. Little hairs coming out of my nostrils. A friend of mine said, I don't like seeing that, da 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 da. I haven't put my dentures in this morning. What isn't there that cannot be an offence to someone? You have to be in that place of being offended. Because when you're not happy, you are offended. When we are happy, when we are living our true state, when we are in our true disposition, we are accepting. We're not offended. It doesn't mean we don't see the shit on the pavement or a person that represented slavery. Look at the artwork and look at the great entertainment that, I won't mention any names, were part of our society, our international society at one time. But due to their personal life, they were removed. Only from this disposition will you react to your offence in such a way that you may say, you may take ridiculous action, like boxing in a statue, or putting graffiti, painting graffiti on certain pictures. You go to the extremes. Other people will simply say, oh, I won't buy that in the future. Or I won't go into that shop. I have a friend that won't go into Tesco's. See, I don't really know about the political hang-ups that he might have. There's people, there's a saying, not a saying, but it's often said that, oh, had you not said that, I wouldn't have noticed. Oh, I was happy eating that. Oh, I didn't realise it had that ingredient in it. Now I won't eat it. Yes, I was happy to visit that person, but now you've told me more about his background. I don't really want to see him anymore. Oh, now you've told me where that comes from. I won't buy that anymore. See, that bit of knowledge changes our disposition, our point of view. It could work the other way as well. Oh, now you've told me that. I would rather, I'd eat that more often. But consider yourself. Consider how much you've been offended by whatever today, how often you've been offended. You do things not knowing it's because you've been offended. You might see a litter bin full of used tissues, and you empty it, not realizing it's because you're offended by it. That's a good example, but there's 7 billion, 8 billion people on this earth. How many people are offended by me? By any particular part of me? We've got to accept that it's normal to be offended, but it's not necessary to react in the extreme. Look at the many wonderful pieces of music that I like. That was an offence when they were first performed. Beethoven was an offence while he was alive. There is nothing in the realm of conditions that can't be not an offence. Think of all the various different perfumes. My mother was often offended when she could smell a particular perfume strongly, dominating. As a child, I was really offended. Well, I didn't like the fresh air, aerosols, spraying particular scent. Anyway, what is the answer? You're not going to be able to stop yourself from being offended. You don't know what's round the corner. But awakening, transcending it, outshining it, is a wonderful, magical, delightful, mysterious, a change of disposition, an enlightened disposition is the way to outshine these conditions of life. To be able to be comfortable no matter what. To be able to have a disposition that's balanced a mature way to live. It's inherent. Already happiness is inherent. My teacher, Adidas Samraj, has said, don't abandon the world, but outshine it. And he says, the less we react, to eventually living a life of no reaction, is the way to live. And how does one do that? He says, commune with God. Commune with real God, which is one's inherent and already the case disposition. This disposition is offended and it reacts. This disposition can see things that aren't good, but it doesn't react. It outshines, it transcends. And if it's necessary, one can do something about it. If it's necessary to do so, that's responding, not reacting. There is a big difference between responding to a situation and reacting. You might go into a room and someone's left the window open and there's a cold air coming in, and you react and you feel a bit cross. You go over to that window and you close it and but the one coming into the room in this disposition simply notices it and possibly closes the window after a few seconds of consideration, not just suddenly go into it. Because there are patterns that we tend to dramatize, irrespective of whether those patterns are necessary in that moment. The mature individual living it from this disposition sees the fire on and responds. Well, I don't think it's necessary to have the fire on. If there's another person around, then that can be discussed. One doesn't just independently, if there's other people around, close the window or turn the fire down or turn the fire on. These are the things in life that niggle one another, that we label certain people controlling, and I want my way mentality. That comes from the unenlightened state, from the clenched fist disposition, from the place of reactivity. It's not good, it's ugly, it's immature. The open hand disposition is a disposition of consideration, a disposition of intelligent discrimination, a disposition of discernment. So to outshine, not to abandon the world, but to outshine it is the disposition, is the path that the devotee of already happiness practices. And the world's not going to congratulate you for it. And that, as I talk about it, it's necessary for me to walk the talk. Now those roses there, they were drooping. And from this disposition, I asked a lady who was here yesterday, a few people here, I said, what can we, I said, well, we ought not buy roses from this particular shop anymore, because they tend to droop. Whereas I bought them from another shop and they didn't. And she said, oh, don't you know the trick about cutting the stem at the bottom, about a centimetre or so. So you divide the stem. I knew about cutting a little bit off, but this isn't cutting off, it's splitting the stem. I said no. So after she left, I did that. Although 2 or 3 didn't rise, it seems to have worked. The roses are now more upright. So there's these little tricks. They're caring, it's caring, it's love, it's joy and delight, and it's happiness. To live in a life of happiness, you are alone. You've chosen it. So you can belong to a group of people and who are all offended by the same sentence or two or object that you see. Talking about shit, saw some horse manure in the lane the other day, and I wasn't offended by it at all. It's natural, it happens, but it reminded me of my mother saying, oh Peter, go outside quickly, there's some horse manure, put it around the roses. I didn't this time. I think I was cycling. So, if you wish to choose a life of less reactivity, of more mature responding to the situations and conditions of life, then it's important you take on a discipline that transforms you. And the discipline that I've taken on and live day to day, not necessarily full time, but it's called satsang, S-A-T-S-A-N-G. It's a Sanskrit word. And satsang basically means divine communion throughout the day. So you feel this communion, this connection to God via the spiritual master. In my case, the spiritual master is Adidar Samraj. We all have teachers in life, and we commune with those teachers, not necessarily knowing that we're doing that. If you're having piano lessons, you're actually communing with the teacher when you're practicing. You're remembering what the teacher has told you. That's a form of satsang. This is communion. If you're going to do some woodwork repair, you might remember what your father told you. That's a communion, it's connection, it's a memory. Throughout the day we can remember being told certain things. Now, spiritual path also requires a teacher and someone who's going to help you, draw you out of these immature ways of living, where we are always reacting and finding fault and dissociating ourselves from those things that offend us, rather than living a life of embracement, no matter what, becoming more like Jesus, embracing, more like Buddha, more like any spiritual master, enlightened being. Thank you for listening. It's amazing what people can be offended by. There we are. This is a radical teaching where you become more and more, not lonely and not alone, meaning you don't see anyone or be with anyone, but it is a solo practice, if you like, an on your own practice. Because it's radical, you take personal responsibility. Don't wait for someone else to congratulate you or to give you permission. You're using your innate intelligence. You're using your inherent ability to discriminate in a loving way. The heart is ready to take its place in your life. Of all your thoughts in your head, allow your heart to be your guide. And you need, sorry, but you do, everyone needs to be re-educated by an enlightened master. So I've got the choice, that's what. To alienate, to be at war, or to embrace and to be in love. Thank you for listening.